Hey guys, what's up? It's been a while. Let's talk about AJ and the Queen. Spoilers. In case you haven't come across this little Netflix gem yet, AJ and the Queen is a series which tells the story of aging drag queen performer Robert and a troubled little girl named AJ who go on a road trip from New York all the way to Texas. Robert has had all of his money stolen by his boyfriend, and so he has to go on tour as a drag queen in order to make some cash, while AJ, whose mother is a prostitute and drug addict, is trying to get to Texas to find her grandfather and hopefully live with him, so she escapes foster care and hides in Robert's RV. And from then on, obviously this results in loads of road trip adventures and life lessons featuring various characters, including Robert's ex-boyfriend and his very scary female partner in crime, the two of whom are chasing our main characters with very malicious intentions. We have RuPaul Charles from RuPaul's Drag Race, probably the most famous drag queen on the planet right now, starring as Robert, and a young actress called Izzy G, starring as AJ. Now, when I first heard that there was going to be a series about drag queens with RuPaul in the lead, my first reaction was, okay, we know what this is. This is going to be just an excuse for cameos from RuPaul's Drag Race contestants and a bunch of drag queen performances, just kind of loosely tied together with a story. And it's going to be campy, and it's going to be almost intentionally bad, but in a sort of enjoyable way. All in all, an okay way to spend a few hours watching a show, but nothing more than that. And this is kind of how it starts. At the beginning, there's a little too much absurd comedy, a few too many drag queen catchphrases. You are constantly distracted by the fact that RuPaul is painfully thin in this, which is a fact that's even actually addressed in the show several times. Basically, at first, it does kind of look a little bit like the story's secondary and the main goal is for a bunch of queens to have an opportunity to show their drag. However, after a couple of episodes, the show actually starts finding its feet and starts becoming something a little bit more special. The curious thing is that for a show about drag queens, the drag queen moments in it are kind of the least interesting thing about it. In pretty much every episode, we get to see Robert's alter ego called Ruby Red and other queens do some sort of performance. But while that type of thing obviously works really well within the context of RuPaul's Drag Race, here those moments are just kind of whatever. They're okay, they're not bad or anything like that, but I kind of just sit through them and I wait for the story to pick back up. So I sort of never really grew to care much about Ruby, but to my surprise, I very quickly fell in love with Robert. I've always respected RuPaul and I've always thought that he was very good at what he did. And he does have some acting credits, but those are mostly kind of silly characters and comedic parts, and a lot of it is drag queen type comedy, and drag queen comedy sometimes works, sometimes doesn't. So what surprised me is that comedy is definitely not where he shines in the show. It's actually the dramatic scenes, and he's amazing in those and often very subtle as well. It's genuine, heartfelt, serious acting, which I honestly was not expecting, so I was really impressed. The child actress who plays AJ also delivers a solid performance, and the supporting cast is pretty good. We have several characters. We have Robert's roommate, Louis, who's also a drag queen, but he lost his eyesight due to diabetes, and he's mostly used as comic relief throughout the show, but we do get a few more serious moments with him a bit later on, which is great. There's Robert's ex-boyfriend, who's obviously one of the villains, but we get some hints that maybe he's slightly more complicated than he first appears. And we also have AJ's mother, who's trying to get her life back together and get reunited with her daughter. And they're all fairly nuanced. However, for me, the heart and soul of the show is the character of Robert. And mostly when he's out of drag, because everything about him just feels very real and very lovable. He's this middle-aged gay man who's still young at heart and still very hopeful, and he's very kind and maybe even a little bit naive, and he's finding it really difficult to get over this ex-boyfriend, even though obviously that man betrayed him and lied to him and stole from him. He just can't let go of the dreams he had for the future and the moments they shared together. But at the same time, he's also very clever and witty, and most of the time very sensible and responsible. He dreams of finding love and having a family and having kids, and he forms this really sweet relationship with AJ, which is funny but also very genuine. So he's a very easy character to root for. One of the things that I personally really like about this series is that there's no agenda that it's trying to hit you over the head with. There's no obvious political message. In fact, it kind of goes out of its way not to vilify anyone and to show that humans are complicated and all of us often misjudge one another. Now, shows about abuse and discrimination are necessary and are important, and when they are done right, they can be really impactful. But I actually really love the fact that AJ and the Queen isn't specifically trying to be that sort of show. It's not about gay people, it's not about drag queens specifically, it's not about drug addicts. It's just a show about human relationships. Because Robert's philosophy seems to be that people are inherently good. And if you stay true to who you are and you keep your heart open and you give them a bit of a chance, they might actually pleasantly surprise you. I think the time we live in is very divisive. And we talk a lot about not putting people into boxes, and yet we often end up putting each other into boxes even more than we ever have. So in this climate, a show such as this is a welcome reminder that sometimes we can just interact as individuals and not even worry about what sort of race or sexuality or other type of group we belong to. So if you're looking for a show which is both fun and heartbreaking, and it will probably make your day a little bit brighter, and if you also enjoy listening to some really great vintage tunes, because the soundtrack is pretty awesome as well. There's a song in there from the best little whorehouse in Texas. If that's the kind of show you're looking for, then I definitely recommend checking out AJ and the Queen. Give it a chance, I think you won't be sorry.